Welcome back, guys, to another All Things Single Seater podcast. I'm here with Jordan, and we are here to discuss USA. How are we,
Hmm.
Jordan?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Well, I'm not really great because I'm quite annoyed actually about the race, to be fair, because yeah, let's talk about the race. So, diving straight in. So, I'd say the biggest shock was Ferrari. Let's quickly gloss over that because they literally got no TV time and they kind of want to. So their pace was great, so well done them. And they didn't screw the strategy, and it was cool. And Sainz actually did a one stop, didn't he? I thought he was going to do a two stop, but he
Hmm.
eats those hards out, so that was really good. I do kind of feel sorry for Sainz because I feel like the turn one incident kind of blocked him a little bit. So Leclerc got a really good
Hmm.
run. And I think like if that didn't happen, he could have had a good chance of winning. But then you could argue if that didn't happen, Lando and Max could have won too. So yeah,
To be honest, I actually wasn't surprised that they won. I felt like they were kind of the underdogs coming into the weekend. Obviously, only had one practice session because it was a sprint weekend. They done decent in the sprint. Carlos was qualifying in the top three for both sprint and the race. So I kind of had a feeling going into the race. I was like, if something happens, someone out of the Ferrari boys can win this. And they did. I do agree with you, like, they didn't get shown at all really in the race. It was kind of like, oh, Leclerc's overtook Max and Lando into turn one. And then the only other bit they showed was Carlos doing his pit stop. Yeah, that was it.
yeah,
And then the end when Charles crossed the finish line. Yeah, they for once didn't muck up their strategy.
yeah. Um, you could argue they did get a lot of TV time in the sprint. That was some pretty epic battling that they had. And you could probably say if they didn't waste time doing that, they could have put more pressure on Max and Lando. But um,
Mm.
I'm glad that we got the battling. So yeah, let's then talk about Lando and Max.
Mm-hmm.
What is your view on lap one, Max and Lando?
I don't think they've done anything wrong. I also don't think they've done anything right. You know, I
Great.
can see like where Lando's coming from. That does not make sense in any way, but let me
Okay,
explain.
I'm with you.
Like we've seen it so many times with Lewis and Max that they will cover off each other. So for Lando to do it, he's thinking ahead. It could have ended badly if they didn't leave enough room for each other. Luckily they did. You know, you could argue, oh, like someone's got pushed off the track, everything like that, but lap one is known for that. That's why they don't penalise on lap one unless
Yeah,
there is a crash or something. So yeah.
that's fair. I totally agree. I think Lando should have defended harder. He should have completely closed the door, and he didn't. And
Mm.
you know that Max was going to send it. Lap one, Max and Carlos Sainz. What's your view on that?
I don't know.
See, by the steward's ruling of the Lando Max thing, technically you could argue that Max should have got a 5 second because he overtook
Mhm.
Sainz off the track in the same sort of manner that Sainz was ahead at the apex. Um, and they both went off, like Max and Lando both went off. So do you think he should have got a 5 second for that? Or do you think that Lando shouldn't have got a 5 second for his?
Personally, the one I relate to more is George and Valtteri. Max is closer to the track than what Lando is. So with that part, I think Max should have got the penalty and not Lando. I get the part of where Lando's before coming into that corner, he was ahead.
Hmm.
On that straight, he was ahead of Max. So then when they hit the apex, but this is the topic of conversation. No one knows what the apex is
Yeah.
because everyone has different views on what it could be. We've had so many chats about this, and everyone has chats about it, whether you've been in F1 for 30 years and you're a commentator or you're a driver. They need to just stick to one rule.
Yeah.
Um, it's either you get penalised the exact same or you don't. You can't just make it up for one corner for two certain drivers and then the next corner they don't get penalised, because then it's just going to keep happening, and then like stuff like this they're going to get annoyed. Like
Yeah.
McLaren's annoyed because, you know, effectively Max was the one closest to the track who had in fact pushed Lando off, stuff like that. Like, where could Lando go apart from
Off the track.
the wall?
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't know. I think it's a tough topic because we could sit here for hours and just debate and debate and debate, and we still wouldn't get to an end conclusion.
Yeah. I think yeah, the science maximum wasn't exactly completely the same, to be fair, but I think Jensen made a good point to Horner when he said, if you lift off the brake to make sure you hit the apex first, does it then matter if you're not then going to make the corner and push them wide because you've technically then hit the apex first, which Max did do. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's really annoying because it's just so inconsistent. I think the stewards should be paid more because they're not paid much from what everyone's been saying. I think it should
Mhm.
be a team. Um, Everyone's realistic to know that the same stewards can't go to every single race because that's just unrealistic. But the team of stewards could be a team of 20 people that are all employed.
Yeah.
Set ones go to each race, and then the ones that don't go are the ones that review after the race if there are any other
Mhm.
decisions that have to go to appeal. And I think, it's not that hard. People could argue that that might not work, but I think it would work so much better than what we've got of,
How it's working now, yeah.
yeah, because if you've got, fair enough, you can have like some drivers that come in. I know, like, I think Liuzzi does it quite a lot, and there are some drivers that do that. But if you bring random drivers in that don't do it enough, and they've got an agenda, or they've got their own favorite driver, or they've got their own version of the
Mhm.
rules, it's just weird. I just feel like it should be better than what it is.
Mhm.
So that sucks. But okay, so that's kind of that on the down part of the race. But I think there are a few good things that happened. Um,
Mhm.
Liam Lawson, I think,
Yep.
Kevin Magnussen had a good weekend, to be fair. Um, don't laugh at me. He was screwed at the end by his fucking right. We'll get to that in a minute. And Franco Colapinto. Um,
Mhm.
they're the three that spring to mind at the moment. But let's go to Franco. Like, he's been really good. Like, really good.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he has pleasantly surprised me.
Mm,
Um, I've watched him through his junior career, but then to be brought in halfway through the season, never really have been in an F1 car. It was a bit like, have Williams done the right thing? And if you look back on past videos, you've heard us speaking about this. And I personally did say no. I now take that back. I was wrong. Um, but it's more, he's proved himself. He has proved himself and everyone else. Um, and personally, I think he deserves a seat next year.
yeah.
I think he would be silly not to get a seat next year. I know there's only 2 left,
Mm.
possibly 3. Um,
Steak.
and Visa Cash App Racing Bulls
Oh. Oh, yeah.
and possibly Red Bull.
Oh, did you see that from Helmet? That they're looking
Eh.
at Franco for next year? I don't think they are, but they might be. I don't know. Weird things
I've
happen.
heard that Liam's going in there
To be
next year.
fair, obviously we can't judge him just on one weekend, but the race he did last year, he did very well.
I think people, they don't forget, but he was in F1 last year, obviously, to replace injured Daniel Ricciardo, and now
Mm.
he's replacing Daniel Ricciardo, who's not injured.
Mentally
Um,
is. Sorry.
and he drove very well last year, and I think this weekend I didn't expect much from him, but again, he has pleasantly surprised me. These rookies, I know Lawson's not a rookie, but he is because he hasn't had a full season in F1 to me. Lawson and Colapinto are just smashing it at the moment, and I think that speaks volumes that if drivers aren't performing, leave.
Yeah.
There is a few in my mind who I think shouldn't be on the track currently,
A
and
few.
you're not. Yeah, a few.
Go on.
Well, Lance Stroll.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
that's obvious for everyone. Guan Yu Zhou,
Mm. Yeah.
Sorry. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but
Boundary Bob.
Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, I thought that.
I can't believe they're possibly thinking of re-signing him for next year. He
Um,
is 23rd in a 20-car championship,
yeah. Okay.
and the person in 22nd isn't even in the championship anymore, and then his teammates in 21st, who's not going to be here next year anyway.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in having no events to Bottas anyway. I like him. He's not done it. He hasn't scored a point at all.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, Guan Yu
Go
Zhou,
on.
I think, Guan Yu Zhou has shown moments of being a great driver. He has had some very good races and he has had some great overtakes and great moments. And he hasn't always been a million miles away from Bottas.
No,
Um,
no, I'm not denying that in any
and
way, but
Bottas, as we know, was very, very close to Lewis. Now, I'm not saying that Zhou is on Lewis's level at all, but I'm saying I don't think Zhou is. I think the car isn't doing him any favors. But then
yeah,
when you have the moment where Zhou was running in front of Bottas in the race and then span turn one, that doesn't do him any favors either. So I think I do see Zhou not coming back to F1, but I don't think he's discredited himself, but I think he's
no.
just maybe just yeah, not like a Franco or a Liam.
This is the thing what aggravates me. Like, cars are changing, regulations are changing. It's time to bring new people in. It can't be, as much as we've both watched it for a very long time now, as much as I would love to see Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, the older drivers, shall we say, be in F1 for another 10, 15 years. It's not going to happen.
No,
And I know when they leave, I'll probably be heartbroken. More Lewis than anything.
more Hulkenberg
But,
for me.
but they know that new talent is coming through.
Yeah,
They can't compete with that in a couple of years' time and stuff like that. So I just, like Fernando said, his contract with Aston is his last contract.
yeah, but he said that about McLaren in '07.
But he's now like 40 something years old.
Yeah, that's true. It probably will be. Let's be fair. But yeah, I think there are a lot of younger drivers that are probably a bit better than the ones we've currently got. Um, Lance is running the risk of not finishing in the top 10 in
Mm.
when, I think he scored a third of Fernando's points, which is bad because he's 11th now in the standings. So I don't really know what's going on with him. You could argue they haven't developed the car as much and, all of that. But when Fernando's fighting for points most weekends still, it's quite,
Mm.
Who would you replace? Who would you put in the stake then? Would you put Franco?
Anyone.
Just not Joe or Bottas? well, yeah.
Obviously, Guan Yu Zhou isn't even in contest for a seat next year. He knows
Yeah.
his seat is done. Bottas, obviously, they are looking at re-signing him, which I get, but it's not like they're bringing in a rookie anyway. Like, fair enough if they wanted experience, but they've already got experience in Hulkenberg.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So I can't quite justify why they would want to keep him.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
we'll move on from that. I think, like, from seeing, like, Liam Lawson sit on the sidelines for years, it's only now that he's possibly going to get a seat next year
Hmm.
after being out of racing for what, 2, maybe 3 years?
Yeah.
I think it's 2 years, 2 full years of not being in a race seat. And that's the same, because this is just going to go on to a whole nother subject now. Why have we then got the feeder series if they're not bringing in the championship winners?
Yeah.
Why isn't Felipe Drugovich in F1? Or
Lance
why isn't
Stroll.
he a contender? Why isn't he a contender for a seat at a different team?
Hmm.
These teams don't want to give up their junior drivers, but they're then stopping them from getting their dream.
Yeah, I do think some of it is they can put them in other series as well, can't they? And I think
They can.
other series are now getting a lot more traction and a lot more views. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that these series have been very small small in the past, but I'm saying like things like DTM and IndyCar are now much more accessible to watch for everyone around the world as opposed to just
Mhm.
their country sort of thing. So I think, um, like Formula E as well, they have teams with drivers in there. So I think that's probably part of it now as well. Like it's more of like a corporate franchise brand thing where they want these drivers in all of these categories that are racing. But then it does
Which,
then have that issue of, yeah, I don't know, maybe drivers get moved around more than they would do previously. I don't know.
mm, but like prime example of what you've just said, McLaren, for
Yeah.
example. I'm going to use them as an example. They've obviously got F1 team, IndyCar, Formula E, blah 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 blah. They have just put Taylor Barnard in a Formula E seat for next year.
Mm.
His well, he half finished his F2 season this year to then go to Formula E, um, because he tested with them earlier on in the year for the rookie test. Um, and that to me is how it should be done. Like they are a prime example of doing the right thing. If they're not ready for F1, which personally I don't think Taylor is at the moment, but with that experience and stuff like that, he could then go from Formula E to IndyCar to then being a reserve driver for McLaren in F1.
Yeah.
And all these, like, he's got lots of different options to go with, or like you said, different racing categories altogether. DTM, you've got WEC, you've got everything really. But they're doing it right, whereas I feel like other teams in F1 who have got the junior drivers and like other teams aren't doing
Yeah,
it
they're
right.
not putting them in those places. Yeah, no, that does make sense. Quickly back to the race though. Just looking at time. Yeah, Haas. I'd say they surprised me. The sprint was great.
Hmm.
Came out getting into Q3 was, I mean, credit where it's due. He had a very good race. Um, Obviously the sprint. Where were they? Seventh and eighth, weren't they? I think.
I
Um,
think so, yeah, double points in the sprint.
yeah, and then the race. Obviously, K-Mag got up to seventh behind Gasly. They
Hmm.
committed him to a two-stop, and he, um, got through the field really well. But then I find that they kind of screwed him at the end because Hulkenberg did the one stop, so obviously was closing up to him. But I feel all Haas had to do was ask Kevin to just not fight him and then keep Kevin in the DRS because they had an 8 second gap to Liam Lawson, who then had a couple of second gap back to P10. So K-Mag was safe in the points of about 10 to 12 seconds. Um,
Hmm.
so I just feel like they boxed him purely because Hulk caught him up, and I just feel they could have handled it better, and maybe that he could have also scored a point or two. Um, I just feel that put a bit of a downer on how good his weekend actually was. But yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. Shout out to you, K-Mag. You did well this weekend. You're not his biggest fan, are you?
No, I like him, but there's just like certain things. Like he's not my favourite driver. I do feel like this year they are favouriting Hulkenberg,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't fully understand why because they're both leaving the team.
Yeah, and at the start, K-Mag wasn't. He was still in
Yeah,
contention for that seat, and they were still favouring
yeah,
Nico. And I just
hmm,
feel it kind of sucked considering how long he's been there. Seven, seven. Okay, seven.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know.
That's still quite a long time to be with
Yeah.
an F1 team for. Like you don't see that. It's not as common nowadays. Um, like the ones which obviously stick out to me are Lewis and McLaren. Obviously, Lewis and Mercedes. You've obviously got Verstappen with Red Bull. Um,
Charles at
but you know
Ferrari, probably.
they've
Yeah.
been there for such a long time. Like it's just and he's been a team player.
Mm,
He's been a team player this year, and last year. Um, so I don't know what more they want from him. To
yeah.
kind of like they're just screwing him at every opportunity they get, but then they're screwing themselves
I feel like
because
he
then
would
they're
have.
not getting the points.
Yeah, I feel like he would have been a better option for a teammate for Behrman than Ocon, but I'm just not Ocon's biggest fan when it comes to being a team player, being, yeah, just not being a knob. So
I think we agree with that.
yeah, but then you could argue there are better candidates than K-Mag. So yeah, but I thought
Yeah.
we had a very good weekend. Sonoda bottled it again, stupid spin. Um, kind of put a downer on it, and I think yeah, predictions. Should we do a quick fire predictions for the race? Let's do it. Should we do it? It's Mexico, isn't it? Is it
Just the
Mexico?
race or qualifying as well?
And quali, and quali.
Okay. Would you
Okay,
like to go first?
I would not. No, I will. So okay, quali. Lando P1, Max P2, Oscar P3, Checo P4, Leclerc P5.
Why do you think Checo's going to do well?
Because I have no idea really, but I know that this season's been pretty crazy,
Honestly.
and thanks. And there have been times when things
He
we
has
didn't.
performed.
Yeah, but there's also been times when things have happened that we didn't think would happen, like Danny Rick getting dropped.
Yeah.
Um, how it happened anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so part of me thinks that it could be Checo's last race, but I don't know. So I'm not saying that it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. So I'd at least let him go out on a high, And it's Mexico,
I don't
so I
think they'll
just
get rid of him in Mexico.
I
I
don't
think
know.
they'll wait till after the season and be like, "You've lost us the constructors.
You're out.
See you later."
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
because
Okay.
he has got 5 races plus. Is it one more sprint or 2 more sprints?
I think Brazil's a
I think
sprint. Is
2 more.
Brazil a sprint? I'm gonna check.
Yeah, Brazil's a sprint, but I think there's another one. I think it's
Vegas?
Vegas.
No. Vegas is not a sprint. Is it Qatar? Qatar is a sprint.
2 more sprints, so he has got opportunities to score points
Mm.
in the constructors, but I don't think he will. So I think they'll wait till the end of the season.
Okay. What's your prediction for quali then? I take it Checo's not in your top five.
Nope. um, I have gone Lando pole, Leclerc second, Max third, Piastri fourth, and Russell fifth.
Fair enough. Okay, race. Oh god, I don't know. You see, it could be one of those races where like Lando and Matt crash again.
And then they take out the half the field and
Because you just
I go for the
know,
pit wins.
imagine, and then Audi sign Bottas. But, um, just
Announced the day
imagine,
before.
yeah, just imagine Lando goes into the apex first and pushes Max off and goes, "Well, that's the rules," and fucks it up because it's Lando. Just like drives into Max. Um, I don't know.
But
Okay.
that's what George is there for.
Okay. No, I'm okay. I've decided. Race is going to be Lando, Piastri.
Win.
Mhm.
Oh, McLaren 1-2.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god. Oh god. This is like hope kicking in for this as well. Checo P3.
Oh, God. You do this every year.
I do. Leclerc P4, Sainz P5, Max to DNF. Because I'm thinking that if Max like fucks up and crashes, Checo gets a podium, that whole Sunday will be everyone thinking Checo's a hero, and Max will have a tantrum, and it could be the momentum swing that makes him lose the title. You know, like how Seb crashed in 2018 Germany, and that was it, and he kind of killed himself mentally. I think that's gonna happen.
Hmm. Okay.
Not gonna happen, is it?
No. Definitely not.
Fair
So
enough.
I've gone for Lando to win, Charles P2, Oscar third. It's a double McLaren podium as well. Max fourth. He might have a 5-second time penalty, which drops him down to fifth. But at the moment, Russell will be fifth.
Okay. All right then. Okay. I also think Haas are going to get another double points. Another one. They're going to get a double points finish.
Interesting.
And Colapinto is going to out-qualify Albon.
Again.
Hmm?
I don't think this would be a standout, but I'm going to say it anyway. Lawson to out-qualify Yuki. And then I'm going to say that the Alpines are going to crash into each other.
Oh, wow. We haven't had that in a while, have we? We need a bit of spice again with those two.
Yeah, not Gasly's fault in any way.
Just Ocon. Well, we're going to wrap it up there because you've got to cut tea for your family. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Can't wait for my predictions to come in, and we will see you next time.